Hey, tonight we explore the forgotten moments of serenity in the lives of medieval monarchs. Behind the stone walls of ancient castles, far from the clashing of swords and the weight of golden crowns, kings sought solace in rituals both ordinary and extraordinary as the torches cast long shadows across tapestry-adorned halls. These powerful men shed their armor, both physical and emotional, surrendering to rare moments of peace. Join me on this journey through the quiet, personal evenings of those who commanded armies by day, but sought comfort and restoration by night. If you're enjoying this peaceful moment, please like, share, and subscribe. What ancient era would you most wish to visit in your dreams tonight? Dim your lights. Let the gentle glow of a candle cast dancing shadows on your wall, and feel the weight of the day melt away. Allow the soft caress of night to envelop you as we wander back through the corridors of time to an age of castles and kings. You step through an ancient oak door, its iron hinges creaking softly, announcing your presence in the royal chambers of King William. The Battle of Hastings ended mere hours ago. Your bones ache with exhaustion, your muscles tense with the memory of combat. The weight of England now rests upon your shoulders, but tonight is for restoration. The chamber around you breathes the warm glow of beeswax candles, their honey scent mingling with the earthiness of rushes strewn across the stone floor. A servant quietly closes the door behind you, leaving you to the blessed silence after a day filled with the cacophony of war. Your fingers, still remembering the grip of your sword, now work slowly at the leather straps of your armor. Each piece that falls away seems to carry a portion of the day's burden with it. First the helmet, revealing hair matted with sweat, then the breastplate, allowing your chest to finally expand in a deep, restorative breath. The weight of rulership may be impossible to set aside completely, but the physical reminders of battle can at least be shed for these precious hours of solitude. As you move deeper into your temporary quarters, your boots press into the fresh. Herbs scattered among the rushes, mint, lavender, and thyme, releasing their soothing fragrances underfoot. The scents rise around you, nature's gentle remedy for a mind still racing with strategy and consequence. A basin of water awaits, steam rising in delicate curls from its surface, inviting you to wash away the dust and blood of conquest. You dip your hands into the water, surprised to find it perfectly warm, not scalding hot as modern comforts might provide, but heated to soothing temperature by stones from the hearth. Rose petals float on the surface, releasing their subtle perfume as your hands disturb their arrangement. With a cloth of soft linen, you begin the ritual of cleansing. Not the hurried washing of modern times, but a deliberate, mindful practice. You feel each muscle in your face relax as the warm water caresses your skin, washing away not just grime, but the expressions of command and concern you've held throughout the day's battle. A knock at the door brings a young page carrying a wooden tray. Upon it rests a goblet of spiced wine, steam rising from its surface carrying aromas of cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves. The page bows deeply and retreats without a word, trained in the art of silent service. You lift the goblet, feeling its weight in your hand, the metal cool against your fingertips, but quickly warming from the hot liquid within. The first sip spreads warmth through your chest, the honey-sweetened wine carrying the heat of spices, down your throat and into your core. This is no common soldier's ale, but the carefully crafted Hippocras reserved for kings, medicine and luxury in one draught. As you sip, you move toward the window. The moon hangs full above the conquered land, silvering the landscape that cost so many lives today. You run your fingers over the cold stone of the window's edge, feeling the contrast between the warmth spreading through your body and the unyielding chill of the castle walls. From here, the sounds of the encampment below reach you faintly. Men laughing, horses nickering, the distant strain of someone playing a lute. Your victory, your burden, your kingdom. But tonight is not for dwelling on kingship. It is for remembering that beneath the crown, you remain flesh and blood, subject to the same needs for comfort and rest as any man. You turn from the window and survey the chamber more carefully. A fire burns low in the hearth, casting long shadows that dance across walls hung with tapestries, brought to soften both the appearance and the echoes of the stone room. Near the fire stands a wooden tub, large enough for you to ease your battle-worn body into. Steam rises from its surface, promising relief for aching muscles. As if sensing your gaze, the door opens again and two servants enter, carrying additional buckets of hot water. They pour these into the tub without meeting your eyes, respecting the privacy of a king even in service. The water level rises, and with it, the scent of rosemary and sage, herbs chosen for their healing properties, to draw out soreness and ease inflammation. Once the servants depart, you shed your remaining garments and step into the bath. The heat envelops you immediately, drawing a long sigh from deep within your chest. This is not the quick, practical bathing of a military campaign. This is luxurious immersion, a rare indulgence even for royalty in this age. You lean back against the smooth wooden curve of the tub, feeling the water lap at your collarbones. For long moments, you simply breathe, allowing your awareness to settle fully into your body, noting the places where tension still clings, where bruises are forming, where muscles protest the day's exertions. Gradually, the hot water works its ancient magic. Your shoulders drop away from your ears. Your jaw unclenches. Your fingers, curled for so many hours around sword hilt and reins, slowly extend and relax in the fragrant water. The concerns of kingdom building begin to recede, if only temporarily, replaced by the immediate sensations of physical comfort. When at last you emerge from the bath, your skin flushed and pores open, a linen cloth awaits to dry your royal person. The contrast between the warm water and the cooler air of the chamber sends a momentary shiver across your shoulders, quickly banished as you draw a robe of soft wool around yourself. Your feet press into the warm rushes as you move toward a high-backed chair positioned before the fire. Settling into the seat, you extend your bare feet toward the hearth, feeling the heat on your soles. Another servant appears, this one older, with hands that speak of decades of experienced service. He kneels before you with a small pot of salve, seeking permission with a glance before beginning to apply the ointment to your feet. The salve smells of mint and something deeper, perhaps pine resin, cooling and warming simultaneously. The servant's hands move with practiced efficiency, finding the pressure points that release tension upward through your legs and into your core. You close your eyes, allowing yourself this moment of being tended to. As king, you exist to serve the kingdom in many ways, but in these private moments, the kingdom serves you, preserving your strength for the challenges ahead. The foot treatment complete, the servant retreats, and you are left alone with the crackling fire and your thoughts. A soft scratching at the door announces another arrival. Not a human servant this time, but a large shaggy hunting hound who pads across the floor to rest his head on your knee. You scratch behind his ears absently, taking comfort in the simple, unconditional presence of the animal. To the hound, you are not William the Conqueror, not the Duke of Normandy, not the new King of England. You are simply the hand that offers affection and the voice that commands the hunt. There is profound relief in this uncomplicated relationship. As you sit in contemplation, fingers buried in the dog's warm fur, another knock heralds the arrival of your evening meal. 2 pages enter bearing trays, which they place on a table, already set near the window. The aroma of freshly baked bread fills the chamber, accompanied by the richer sense of roasted meat and preserved fruits. Your stomach responds immediately, reminding you that the body's basic needs continue regardless of battles won or crowns claimed. You rise from your chair, the hound following hopefully as you move to the table. The spread before you represents the finest the royal kitchens can provide. A roasted capon, its skin crisp and golden, bread still warm from the ovens, a selection of cheeses, preserved plums and pears in honey, and a fresh pitcher of wine, this one unspiced and cooling. In this era, before forks became common implements, you use your eating knife to cut morsels of meat, which you bring to your mouth with clean fingers. The taste of the food grounds you firmly in the present moment. The salt of the meat, the sweetness of the fruit, the earthiness of the bread. Each flavor distinct yet harmonizing with the others. You eat slowly, savoring each bite, allowing this simple pleasure to further unwind the tension of the day. Occasionally, you slip a choice morsel to the hound watching attentively at your knee, earning a soft whine of appreciation. When your hunger is satisfied, you push the plate away and lean back in your chair, goblet in hand. Now, with your body's immediate needs attended to, your mind begins to drift toward pleasures of the intellect. A servant has placed several items on a small table near your bed, objects for evening entertainment carefully chosen to suit your known preferences. Rising from the dining table, you move to examine these offerings. There lies a set of carved ivory chess pieces, a luxury even for a king, arranged on a board inlaid with ebony and maple. Beside this, a small collection of parchment scrolls, perhaps poetry or histories or religious texts copied by monastic scribes. And there, most intriguing of all, a small, stringed instrument, a psaltery that you might pluck to create simple melodies in the quiet of your chamber. You select a scroll first, settling back into your chair by the fire. The parchment crackles softly as you unroll it, revealing careful lettering in black ink, occasionally illuminated with touches of gold leaf and vibrant pigments. It is a collection of tales, not sacred scripture, but secular stories brought from distant lands, the kind of entertainment that travels with armies and merchants, crossing boundaries of language and custom. Your eyes move across the words, your lips occasionally sounding out phrases of particular beauty or insight. Reading is not the common skill it will become in later centuries, but you were educated from childhood, and these moments of quiet engagement with written words provide a different kind of rest. Exercising the mind while allowing the body to recover, the hound has settled at your feet, his breathing deep and regular, occasionally twitching as he chases dream rabbits through his sleep. When your eyes grow tired from the dim light, you set aside the scroll and reach for the psaltery. Your fingers, so adept at wielding sword and directing armies, now seek out softer expressions through music. You are no master musician. Such skills are left to those who make entertainment their profession. But you find satisfaction in the simple harmonies you can create. The notes ring out in the quiet chamber, creating a private concert heard only by yourself and the sleeping hound. As the evening deepens into night, a final servant enters to add wood to the fire and turn down the bed, a luxurious affair by medieval standards, with a feather mattress rather than simple straw, multiple layers of blankets woven from fine wool, and even linen sheets, a rare comfort. The bed stands on a raised platform, both for warmth, keeping you above the drafty floor, and as a symbol of your elevated status. The servant withdraws after completing these preparations, and you find yourself alone again, growing aware of the deep weariness settling into your bones. The day's victory, the strategy, the physical exertion, the countless decisions, large and small, all have taken their toll. Now, in the quiet sanctuary of your chamber, you can finally surrender to exhaustion. Before retiring, you move once more to the window, gazing out at your newly won kingdom. Fires still burn in the distance, marking the camps of your army. Tomorrow will bring new challenges: the consolidation of power, the establishment of Norman rule over Saxon lands, the beginnings of a new dynasty. But tonight, these concerns seem distant, wrapped in the mist of approaching sleep. You turn from the window and make your way to the bed, shrugging off your robe before slipping between the linen sheets. The mattress receives your weight, conforming to your body in a gentle embrace. The hound jumps up to settle at the foot of the bed, his warmth a comfort in the cooling night air. You pull the heavy blankets up to your chest, feeling their substantial weight like a shield against the world outside these walls. As you lie there, the sounds of the castle gradually diminish, the distant calls of sentries marking the hours, the occasional clatter of a night patrol passing below your window, the settling of ancient timbers as the stone walls release the day's heat. These sounds create a lullaby for a warrior king, a reminder that while you rest, others maintain vigilance. You close your eyes, feeling the pleasant heaviness of approaching sleep. Your mind drifts, no longer fixed on battle plans or political alliances, but wandering through memories and sensations. The softness of the feather mattress beneath you, the warmth of the blankets above, the gentle rhythm of your own breathing, growing slower and deeper with each passing moment. It is in these final moments before sleep claims you that you are perhaps most human and least royal, vulnerable, solitary, surrendering consciousness just as all people must, regardless of rank or station. The crown may rest beside your bed, but it cannot follow you into dreams. There, you are simply a man, navigating the landscape of your own mind, free from the constraints and obligations of the waking world. As sleep finally embraces you, your last conscious thought is one of gratitude for these private hours of restoration, the quiet rituals that allow a king to set aside the weight of rulership and simply exist in the comfort of the present moment. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges and triumphs, but tonight has served its essential purpose, preparing body and mind for whatever awaits. In the flickering firelight, your breathing deepens into the steady rhythm of sleep. Outside your window, the stars wheel slowly across the medieval sky, marking the passage of time in a newly conquered land. The day's battle is done, the night's rest is well earned. And in these quiet hours between dusk and dawn, even a king finds the peace that all humans seek. As dawn approaches, your dreams begin to shift, scenes of battle blending with visions of the future you hope to build. Castles rising from conquered soil, Norman customs taking root in English land, bloodlines merging to create something new and lasting. These dreams are not merely the random firings of a sleeping mind, but the extension of your waking ambitions, your legacy taking shape. even as you rest. The first light of morning filters through the narrow window, casting a golden pathway across the rush-strewn floor. Birds begin their chorus outside, heralding the new day with songs unchanged since time immemorial. The castle stirs around you, servants moving quietly to begin their daily tasks, guards changing shifts, kitchen fires being stoked to prepare the morning meal. Your eyes open slowly, the transition from sleep to wakefulness marked by a moment of disorientation. The unfamiliar ceiling above you, the strange dimensions of the chamber, brief reminders that you sleep in conquered territory, not the familiar surroundings of your Norman home, but this moment of uncertainty passes quickly, replaced by the immediate awareness of who you are and what you have accomplished. You sit up in bed, feeling the pleasant soreness of muscles that worked hard the previous day but have been granted proper rest. The hound at your feet stirs, stretches, and looks to you expectantly. Another day begins, another opportunity to shape this kingdom according to your vision. But the restoration of the night has done its work. You rise not as a tired warrior, but as a rested king, ready to face the challenges that await. As you stand, a servant enters bearing fresh clothing, rich garments befitting your royal status. The crown will soon follow, along with the responsibilities it represents. But for now, in these quiet moments of early morning, you carry with you the peace of the night's rest, a foundation upon which the day's decisions will be built. You move to the window, looking out at the land that is now yours, hills and forests stretching to the horizon, villages sending thin columns of smoke into the dawn sky, rivers catching the first light of day. England awakens under Norman rule, forever changed by yesterday's battle, but continuing its ancient rhythms nonetheless. Drawing a deep breath of the cool morning air, you turn from the window to begin the rituals of the new day. The night's relaxation now gives way to renewed purpose. You are William, Duke of Normandy, now King of England, restored by the ancient practices of royal rest, ready to write the next chapter in the history of two joined nations. And now, this story draws to a close. Take a deep breath as we gently move forward in time into the next chapter of your journey. Drift now across the sea to sun-drenched Iberia, where Christian kings fought to reclaim lands from Moorish rule. Here, amidst the clash of cultures, royal relaxation becomes an art borrowed from those they sought to conquer. The scent of orange blossoms beckons you forward into the evening rituals of a different kind of king. You stand in the private chambers of King Alfonso, your body aching from a day spent leading the Reconquista forces against the Moorish strongholds in southern Spain. Outside these palace walls, the city of Toledo buzzes with the energy of a kingdom at war. But here, within your private domain, the conflicts of faith and territory seem temporarily distant. Your chamber windows face west, allowing the dying sunlight to spill across intricate geometric tiles in shades of blue and gold, a reminder of the Moorish influence that permeates even this most Christian of courts. The paradox is not lost on you. By day, you fight to reclaim Iberia for Christianity, yet by night, you indulge in the pleasures and comforts developed by those you seek to displace. Such is the complex reality of medieval Spain, a land where cultures clash and merge simultaneously, creating something entirely unique at the seams of conflict. A gentle knock at your door signals the beginning of your evening rituals. Unlike the northern European courts, where kings might retire to relative solitude, Your Spanish kingship maintains certain ceremonial aspects, even in private moments. You grant permission to enter with a single word, and the door swings open to reveal your personal chamberlain, a dignified man of Castilian nobility who has served your family for decades. He bows deeply before approaching. Your Majesty, the hammam is prepared according to your wishes. Will you require attendance during your bath, or do you prefer solitude this evening? The hammam, an indulgence borrowed from the Moorish tradition, modified for Christian sensibilities, but maintaining the essential elements of the steam bath that originated in the East. After a day of heavy armor and the dust of riding, nothing calls to you more strongly than the promise of cleansing steam and hot water. Solitude, you answer, your voice carrying the weariness of command. But have the physician visit afterward with his oils. The chamberlain bows again and withdraws, leaving you to remove the finer garments you donned after shedding your armor upon returning to the palace. Your fingers work at the embroidered clasps of your courtly attire, clothing meant to impress ambassadors and courtiers rather than protect you in battle. As each layer falls away, you feel incremental relief, the weight of kingship becoming slightly more bearable with each garment removed. Dressed now in only a light robe of fine linen, you follow a private corridor that connects your personal chambers to the royal hammam. This passageway is lit by small oil lamps set in niches along the wall, casting pools of warm light that guide your way. The stone beneath your bare feet gradually warms as you approach the bath complex, a subtle signal of the heat that awaits within. The first room you enter serves as a transition between the world of duty and the world of relaxation. Here, attendants would normally help disrobe visitors, but in your solitude, you simply shed your robe and hang it on a wooden peg protruding from the wall. The air here is warm, but not hot, allowing your body to adjust gradually to the increasing temperatures that await. You move through an arched doorway into the main chamber of the hammam, and immediately your senses are enveloped by the experience. Steam rises from a central pool, filling the room with a gentle mist that softens the outlines of marble columns and arched alcoves. The ceiling above is pierced with star-shaped openings filled with colored glass, allowing the last rays of sunset to filter through in jewel-toned beams of ruby, emerald, and sapphire light. The heat wraps around you like a living presence, immediately drawing beads of perspiration to your skin. This is not the dry heat of a northern castle's fireplace, but the enveloping, moist warmth that penetrates muscle and bone. You breathe deeply, filling your lungs with steam, scented lightly with essential oils of eucalyptus and cedar, additions made by your Spanish physicians who believe in the healing properties of such aromas. Moving to one of the marble benches that line the walls, you sit and allow your body to surrender to the heat. The smooth, warm stone receives you comfortably, and you lean back against the wall, closing your eyes. For a long moment, you simply breathe, conscious of how your heartbeat gradually slows and your muscles begin to yield their tension. In this sacred space of steam and silence, thoughts of the day's military council gradually dissolve. Maps showing troop movements, reports of Moorish defences, arguments between advisors about strategy, all these concerns seem to rise with the steam toward the star-shaped openings in the ceiling, temporarily escaping into the twilight sky above. After allowing the steam to open your pores and begin the process of purification, you move to the next stage of the hammam ritual. In the center of the room, a rectangular pool of warm water awaits. You step down into it, feeling the water rise to your waist, embracing you in heat more intense than the ambient steam. Small fountains burble at either end of the pool, creating a gentle music of flowing water that further soothes your battle-worn senses. You immerse yourself fully, ducking beneath the surface to wet your hair and face. The water muffles all sound, creating a moment of complete isolation, a rare experience for any king. When you emerge, water streaming from your beard and hair, you feel as though you've shed not just the physical grime of the day, but something of its mental burden as well. Near the edge of the pool rests a small ceramic dish containing a soft, olive oil-based soap, another luxury adapted from Moorish tradition. You work this into a lather between your hands before applying it to your skin and hair. The soap carries the faint scent of olive and laurel, clean and herbaceous rather than heavily perfumed. This is cleansing for health and comfort, not merely for covering odors as is common in some northern courts. Once cleansed, you return to the marble bench, allowing your body to continue sweating out impurities. The Moorish physicians, whose medical knowledge your Christian court has grudgingly acknowledged as superior in many respects, taught that such sweating purges the body of harmful humors, restoring balance to the systems of the flesh. Whether their theories hold truth or not, the experience itself is undeniably restorative. As the heat works deeper into your muscles, your mind drifts to the irony of your situation. By day, you strategize the conquest of remaining Moorish territories, claiming their lands for Christendom. By night, you adopt their customs, finding wisdom and comfort in the very cultural practices your crusade seeks to displace. Perhaps this contradiction reveals a deeper truth about the Reconquista itself, that it will not simply replace one culture with another, but forge something new from the meeting of East and West. After sufficient time in the heat, you move to the final chamber of the hammam complex. Here, the air is noticeably cooler, designed to close the pores opened by heat and complete the cycle of purification. A series of small pools of increasingly cool water offer the final cleansing. You dip first into the warmest, then progress through to the coolest, each immersion causing a momentary shock that leaves you feeling more alert and refreshed. As you emerge from the final pool, an attendant appears silently with a large drying cloth. You had requested solitude, but certain aspects of royal service are too ingrained to forego completely. You accept the cloth with a nod of acknowledgement, wrapping it around your waist as you follow the attendant back to the first chamber, where your robe awaits. Dried and robed once more, you make your way not back to your royal chambers, but through another doorway that leads to the palace gardens. Unlike the formal gardens visible to the court and visiting dignitaries, this is your private sanctuary, designed according to principles borrowed from Moorish paradise gardens, a courtyard enclosed by arched walkways, centered around a fountain that sends a delicate spray of water into the evening air. The garden is arranged in quadrants, representing the 4 rivers of paradise according to Eastern tradition, though your Christian courtiers prefer to see it as a cross. Orange trees grow in precisely placed terracotta pots, their blossoms filling the night air with a sweet fragrance that mingles with the scents of jasmine and lavender. The sound of water from the fountain creates a constant, soothing backdrop that masks any distant noise of the city beyond the palace walls. A servant has prepared a low couch beneath one of the arcades surrounding the garden. Cushions of silk brocade in deep blues and golds invite you to recline, while still observing the beauty of the garden. A small table nearby holds a silver pitcher of diluted wine, cooled with snow brought down from the mountains and stored in the palace ice house, another luxury adapted from Eastern practices. You settle onto the couch, feeling the pleasant lassitude that follows the hammam. Your body feels lighter, cleaner, unburdened. A servant appears to pour the cooled wine into a silver cup inlaid with intricate designs. The wine is light, sweetened slightly with honey and flavored with crushed rose petals, a refreshing counterpoint to the heat of the bath. As you sip, the court physician arrives, bowing deeply before approaching with a wooden box containing his oils and ointments. He is a learned man trained in both the medical traditions of Al-Andalus and the Christian monasteries, allowing him to draw from the wisdom of multiple healing traditions. Your Majesty, he addresses you formally, would you prefer the lavender compound for relaxation or the rosemary for easing muscle pain from today's exertions? You consider briefly before answering. The rosemary. Tomorrow we ride again. With practiced movements, the physician prepares his treatment, warming the oil between his palms before beginning to work it into your shoulders and back. His hands find knots of tension with unerring accuracy, applying pressure that balances precisely between pain and relief. The rosemary oil heats slightly as it penetrates your skin, carrying its medicinal properties deep into tired muscles. As the physician works, you gaze out at the garden, now illuminated by the rising moon and carefully placed oil lamps that cast a golden glow across the vegetation. A nightingale begins to sing somewhere among the orange trees, its complex melody adding another layer to the sensory tapestry of the evening. The massage complete, the physician withdraws with another bow, leaving you to enjoy the lingering effects of his treatment. Your muscles feel warm and pliable, the persistent aches of warfare temporarily banished. You reach again for your wine, noting how its cool sweetness perfectly complements the warmth radiating from your treated muscles. A different servant approaches now, carrying not food or drink, but a stringed instrument, a type of lute adapted from Moorish designs. He sits at a respectful distance on a low stool and begins to play, his fingers moving with practiced precision across the strings. The music is distinctly Andalusian, with complex rhythms and minor scales that speak of desert winds and ancient stories. Christian lyrics have been fitted to these Eastern melodies, creating sacred songs that sound unlike anything heard in Northern European courts. You close your eyes, allowing the music to wash over you. In this moment, the contradictions of your kingdom seem less troubling. Perhaps this blending of traditions is not weakness, but strength, the ability to recognize beauty and wisdom, regardless of its source. The music speaks to something beyond political conflicts and religious differences, touching a part of the human experience that transcends such boundaries. When the musician concludes his performance, you acknowledge him with a gesture of appreciation. He departs silently, leaving you alone in the garden with only the continued song of the nightingale and the gentle splash of the fountain as accompaniment to your thoughts. The night has deepened around you, stars now clearly visible in the velvety darkness above the open courtyard. The air has cooled considerably, but after the heat of the hammam, and with the warmth of the oil still in your muscles, the temperature feels perfect against your skin. A movement at the entrance to the garden catches your attention. Your chamberlain appears, carrying not documents requiring royal attention or news of diplomatic arrivals, but a small wooden chess set of exquisite craftsmanship. The pieces are carved from ivory and ebony, the board inlaid with silver and mother of pearl. This is your favorite evening pastime, a game of strategy and intellect that allows your mind to engage in harmless battle after a day of commanding real ones. The chamberlain sets up the board on a small table near your couch, arranging the pieces with precision. Would your Majesty care for an opponent this evening, or would you prefer to study positions alone? Some nights you welcome the company, of a skilled opponent, your advisor perhaps, or even the court astronomer whose analytical mind makes him a worthy challenger. But tonight, after the heat and music have worked their calming influence, you prefer contemplative solitude. Alone tonight, you reply. But leave the Andalusian problem we discussed yesterday. The Chamberlain arranges the pieces in a specific pattern, a chess problem devised by a Moorish master from Seville, presenting a puzzle of attack and defense that requires careful thought to solve. Another irony, even in this intellectual pursuit, you turn to the wisdom of those you oppose in the physical world. With the board arranged, the Chamberlain bows and withdraws, leaving you to contemplate the position before you. You study the arrangement of pieces, seeing not just ivory and ebony but metaphors for the larger conflicts of your reign. Knights that must move in unexpected patterns to overcome obstacles. Bishops that travel along diagonal paths of influence. Pawns whose sacrifice may be necessary for ultimate victory. You begin to move the pieces, testing various approaches to the problem. There is comfort in this controlled world of 64 squares, where consequences are limited and defeat means nothing beyond a resetting of pieces. If only the greater chess match of the Reconquista could be so easily managed, its pieces so readily return to starting positions. As you work through the puzzle, your mind achieves a state of focused calm, engaged enough to prevent wandering to worries about tomorrow's campaigns, but following paths of pure logic rather than the complex web of political, military, and spiritual concerns that dominate your waking hours. This mental state, neither fully alert nor approaching sleep, has its own restorative power. When at last you discover the solution to the chess problem, a subtle sacrifice leading to an unexpected checkmate 5 moves later, you feel a small but satisfying sense of accomplishment. You reset the board to its original arrangement, should you wish to demonstrate the solution to an advisor tomorrow. The night has grown later, the palace settling into the quiet rhythms of darkness. Distant sounds of the night watch changing. Shifts reach you faintly, a reminder of the world beyond this garden sanctuary. Your eyelids have grown heavy, your body now fully surrendered to the combined effects of the day's exertion, the hammam's heat, the physician's oils, and the gentle influence of wine and music. Rising from the couch, you make your way back toward your private chambers. The corridors are lit only by occasional oil lamps, creating pools of warm light separated by comfortable shadow. Guards stationed at key intersections stand straighter as you pass, but you acknowledge them only with the slightest nod, your mind already turning towards sleep. Your bedchamber has been prepared in your absence. Linens turned down, candles lit, a final cup of watered wine infused with sleep-inducing herbs placed on a small table near the bed. The windows remain partly open to admit the cool night air, their wooden shutters positioned to balance ventilation with privacy and security. You discard your robe and slip between sheets of fine Egyptian cotton, another luxury imported from lands connected to the Moorish trade networks. The bed itself is raised on a platform and surrounded by curtains that can be drawn for additional warmth and privacy, though on this mild evening, you leave them open to admit both air and the silvery moonlight that streams through the windows. Lying back against pillows stuffed with the softest down, you take a final sip of the herbal wine. Its subtle flavors of chamomile, lavender, and valerian spread across your tongue, familiar tastes that your body now associates with the approach of sleep. You set the cup aside and settle deeper into the mattress, arranging your body in the position that best accommodates the old sword wound in your left side. As your consciousness begins to drift towards sleep, your thoughts turn briefly to tomorrow's council meeting, where strategies for the next phase of the campaign will be debated. But these concerns seem distant now, viewed through the pleasant haze of relaxation that your evening rituals have created. You have done what kings have always done, found ways to set aside the crown, if only temporarily, to restore the man who must bear its weight. Your breathing slows and deepens. The last sounds you register are the continuing song of the nightingale in the garden and the soft rustle of curtains moving in the gentle breeze. Then sleep claims you, drawing you down into darkness where even kings are merely dreamers, temporarily free from the burdens of rule. Morning arrives with the first call to prayers from the city's churches, bells ringing out across Toledo to mark the beginning of another day. Sunlight streams through your chamber windows, falling across your face with gentle insistence. You wake not with the jarring transition from deep sleep to immediate duty that characterizes so many royal mornings, but with a gradual return to consciousness, your body and mind refreshed by proper rest. As you rise and prepare to once again take up the responsibilities of kingship, you carry with you the benefits of the previous evening's rituals. Your muscles move with greater ease, your mind feels clearer, your spirit more centered. The crown will be no lighter today than it was yesterday, but you have renewed your strength to bear it. A page enters with your morning attire, not yet the heavy ceremonial garments of court or the protective armor of battle, but clothes suitable for breaking your fast and attending early council meetings. As he helps you dress, you notice the subtle scent of orange blossoms clinging to your skin from the garden, a pleasant reminder of last night's peaceful hours. Stepping to the window, you look out over the awakening city, a mosaic of Christian churches and Moorish architecture, of narrow streets designed for shade and broad plazas built for commerce and celebration. Your kingdom is a land of contrasts and contradictions, of conflict and cultural exchange. Perhaps your own evening rituals, blending traditions from both worlds, reflect a deeper truth about the future of Spain itself. With that thought to sustain you, you turn from the window and stride toward the door, ready to meet the day's challenges with a restored body and a refreshed mind. The king who walks into the council chamber this morning is not the same weary warrior who returned from the field yesterday. And for that transformation, you have the wisdom of centuries and cultures to thank. This part of your dream has ended, but your journey through history continues. Let the moonlight guide you now across mountain passes and flowing rivers, to a land where faith and kingship intertwine in the heart of medieval Paris. Here, within stone walls that reach toward heaven, a different kind of monarch seeks restoration through rituals both spiritual and physical. You are King Louis IX of France, though history will one day call you Saint Louis. The Sainte-Chapelle stands completed nearby, a jewel of Gothic architecture built to house the crown of thorns and other sacred relics you've acquired at tremendous expense. Evening shadows lengthen across the Ile de la Cité as you conclude a day of dispensing justice beneath the great oak tree at Vincennes. Your shoulders carry not just the weight of the French crown, but the deeper responsibility of a king who believes his every action is witnessed by God. The royal palace bustles with activity, even as day fades to dusk. Courtiers seek final audiences. Ambassadors await responses to their monarch's inquiries, and clerks hurry to complete the day's documentation. Through this choreography of courtly life, you move with practiced purpose, your simple attire belying your absolute authority. Unlike some monarchs who seek to dazzle with ostentation, you prefer garments of quality but modest decoration, a physical reflection of your spiritual values. As the palace bells toll vespers, you make a subtle gesture to your chamberlain, a signal understood through years of service. He immediately begins the careful process of extracting you from remaining obligations, rescheduling non-urgent matters, and politely but firmly ending the day's business. This transition from public duty to private devotion is a ritual repeated daily, as essential to your rule as morning council meetings. You make your way not to the grand royal apartments where feasting and entertainment might continue for hours, but toward a more modest suite of rooms designated for your personal use. These chambers reflect your particular approach to kingship. Comfortable, but not extravagant. Designed to serve function rather than display wealth. The walls bear tapestries depicting biblical scenes rather than hunting triumphs or military victories. Silent reminders of the moral framework that guides your decisions. 2 young pages wait at the entrance to your private chambers. They bow deeply as you approach, then spring into action with well-rehearsed efficiency. One moves ahead to light additional candles in your antechamber, while the other stands ready to assist with your outer garments. No words are spoken. This evening ritual has been performed so many times that verbal direction has become unnecessary. You enter the antechamber, allowing the first page to help remove your mantle and the chain of office that marks your royal authority. Each item is handled with care, the physical symbols of kingship treated with appropriate reverence, even in private. As these trappings are set aside, you feel the first incremental release of the day's burden, not an abandonment of responsibility, but a shift from public performance to private personhood. The second page kneels to remove your boots, replaced with soft leather slippers lined with rabbit fur, a comfort against the perpetual chill of stone floors. This simple change brings immediate physical relief, the constriction of formal footwear giving way to gentle support. Such small comforts are among the few royal luxuries you permit yourself without reservation. With the transition to private, attire complete, you dismiss the pages with a gentle nod. They withdraw silently, closing the heavy oak door behind them. For the first time since dawn prayers, you find yourself in true solitude, a rare and precious state for any medieval monarch. You stand motionless for a moment, eyes closed, simply breathing in the quiet. The constant vigilance required of a king, watching every word, weighing every reaction, maintaining the perfect balance of authority and accessibility, can now be temporarily set aside. Your private chambers consist of several interconnected rooms, each serving a specific purpose in your evening routine. You move first to a small study, where a desk holds selected documents your secretary has flagged for your personal attention. Unlike your public audiences, where matters must be decided quickly and decisively, these evening reviews allow for more contemplative consideration. You light an additional candle and sit in a chair designed to support long periods of reading. The documents before you include correspondence from monastic houses seeking royal protection, reports from regional administrators, and translations of texts from the Holy Land. You work methodically through each item, making notes with a quill pen dipped in iron gall ink. The scratch of nib against parchment creates a meditative rhythm, the focused attention required for the task helping to clear your mind of the day's more chaotic elements. When the most urgent correspondence has been addressed, you rise and move to the adjacent chamber, a private oratory where you conduct your personal devotions. This room represents the heart of your evening ritual, the space where King Louis gives way most completely to Louis, the servant of God. A small altar holds a reliquary containing a splinter said to be from the true cross. Before it stands a prayer desk with a well-worn cushion bearing the impressions of countless hours of kneeling. You light candles of pure beeswax, one of the few luxuries you insist upon for religious observances, believing that offerings to God should be of the finest quality. Their warm light illuminates a painted wooden statue of the Virgin and Child, its colours vivid despite the relative simplicity of its execution. This is not a valuable artistic treasure, but a devotional object chosen for its ability to focus your contemplation rather than inspire admiration for its craftsmanship. Kneeling at the prayer desk, you begin with the familiar Latin phrases of the evening office. The words have been spoken by countless faithful over centuries, yet in the privacy of this moment, they feel intimately personal. Your voice remains soft but clear, the practiced cadence rising and falling in the small chamber. These are not prayers performed for public witnessing, but the authentic communication between a soul and its creator. After completing the formal prayers, you remain kneeling in silence. This is the portion of your devotions that courtiers and clerics alike find most remarkable, your capacity for extended, motionless contemplation. While the world imagines the burdens and privileges of kingship, few understand that in these silent moments, you find the guidance and strength to bear those responsibilities. The candles burn lower, marking the passage of time as you remain in prayer. Eventually, a subtle shift in your posture signals the conclusion of your devotions. You rise slowly, knees stiff from the extended period of kneeling, and make the sign of the cross before turning from the altar. Moving now to the most private of your chambers, you find that servants have prepared for the next phase of your evening ritual during your prayers. A wooden tub lined with linen stands ready, steam rising gently from its surface. Unlike the elaborate bathing customs of southern European courts influenced by Moorish traditions, your bathing practices reflect the more restrained approach common to northern Christianity, practical cleanliness rather than sensual indulgence. Tuam, water has been infused with dried chamomile and lavender, herbs chosen for their calming properties rather than exotic scents. A servant waits discreetly in the corner, eyes downcast to provide what privacy is possible in an era when even kings rarely bathe completely alone. You remove your remaining garments and step into the tub, the hot water immediately beginning. Its work of easing muscles tightened by a day of royal duties. Unlike some of your ancestors who viewed bathing with suspicion, you maintain a regular practice of bodily cleanliness, influenced by reports from returning crusaders about the bathing customs of the East. However, your approach remains distinctly French and Christian. The water blessed before use, the experience treated as maintenance of the body God provided, rather than indulgence of the flesh. As you settle into the water, the servant approaches with a simple soap made from olive oil and ash. Your bathing is efficient rather than luxurious, though you allow yourself to linger slightly longer than strictly necessary, acknowledging the therapeutic benefits of the hot water on your physically active body. Despite your spiritual focus, you are also a king who leads armies, participates in tournaments, and travels extensively through your kingdom. Activities that extract a physical toll regardless of divine purpose. Clean and somewhat refreshed, you rise from the bath and accept a drying cloth from the attendant. Once dry, you don a simple nightrobe of undyed linen, the fabric soft from many washings. The servant withdraws with the bathing materials, leaving you alone once more in your bedchamber. A small table near the canopied bed holds your evening collation, a light meal taken before sleep. Unlike the elaborate feasts served in your great hall, this private repast consists of simple fare: bread, cheese, preserved fruits, and watered wine. The bread is the same as that served to the poorest, members of your household, rather than the refined white manchet reserved for nobility. This practice, like many of your personal habits, reflects your belief that a king should practice moderation, even when abundance is available. You eat slowly, mindfully, saying a brief grace before the first bite. The flavors are plain but satisfying. The sharp tang of aged cheese, the subtle sweetness of dried apples, the honest nourishment of bread. The watered wine serves not as an intoxicant, but as a gentle aid to digestion and sleep, its potency deliberately reduced. As you complete this modest meal, a knock at the door announces the arrival of your confessor, an elderly Dominican friar who has guided your spiritual life for many years. Unlike the confessions of ordinary faithful, a king's reconciliation with God carries additional weight, addressing not only personal sins, but decisions that affect an entire realm. The friar enters and bows, more to your office than to you personally, as he has often reminded you that before God, even kings are merely penitents. You gesture to a simple wooden chair while you kneel on a prayer cushion, reversing the usual positions of authority. In this intimate ritual, the crown is entirely set aside, and you speak as one soul seeking guidance from another. "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned," you begin, the familiar words opening a conversation that will touch on matters both deeply personal and broadly political. Your confession this evening includes moments of impatience with counselors whose advice seemed foolish, pride in the completion of a new abbey under your patronage, and concern over a judgment rendered in a land dispute that continues to trouble your conscience. The friar listens attentively, occasionally asking questions that pierce through self-justification to the heart of the matter. When you have finished speaking, he offers counsel that blends spiritual wisdom with practical advice, reminding you of the distinction between the office you hold and the man God created you to be. His words are direct, unvarnished by the flattery that surrounds most royal interactions. In this relationship, you find a rare and precious truth-telling that helps maintain your moral compass amidst the complex demands of medieval kingship. After granting absolution and assigning penance appropriate to your station, the friar rises to depart. At the door, he turns back with a final observation or question, a practice he maintains to ensure you have something specific to contemplate as you prepare for sleep. Tonight, he asks simply, "Have you considered, my son, that mercy shown today may yield greater justice tomorrow than justice without mercy could achieve?" With that thought planted, he bows once more and withdraws. Left alone with this question turning in your mind, you move toward the final ritual of your day. From a small wooden chest near your bed, you remove a discipline, a small scourge used for self-mortification. This practice, kept private even from most of your household, represents your most personal devotion, a physical reminder of Christ's suffering and your own commitment to spiritual discipline. The self-flagellation you practice is moderate by the standards of medieval asceticism, brief and controlled rather than extreme. The physical discomfort serves as both penance and focus, bringing your awareness fully into the present moment after a day concerned with past judgments and future strategies. The sharp sensation against your shoulders is a private covenant between yourself and God, a physical expression of your submission to divine authority that exceeds earthly power. This most private devotion complete, you return the discipline to its chest and move to your bed. Unlike the enormous state beds in which some monarchs sleep surrounded by attendants, yours is relatively modest, large enough for comfort but not ostentation, with hangings of quality wool rather than imported silk. The sheets have been warmed with heated stones since removed, offering immediate comfort against the nighttime chill. Before extinguishing the final candle, you reach for a small volume bound in simple leather, a book of psalms with selected passages marked for personal meditation. This is not the elaborate illuminated manuscript used in chapel services, but a practical text for private devotion, its pages worn from regular use. You read several verses, committing one to memory as a focus for tomorrow's contemplation. Finally, you make the sign of the cross and extinguish the candle. Darkness envelops the chamber, broken only by moonlight filtering through narrow windows and the faint glow of banked coals in the fireplace. You settle against the pillows, arranging your body in the position that experience has taught brings the most restful sleep. As consciousness begins to fade, your thoughts drift not to the battles and political challenges that occupied your public hours, but to the friar's parting question about mercy and justice. This contemplation forms a bridge between waking and sleeping, the intellectual consideration gradually transforming into the symbolic landscape of dreams. Your sleep, like your waking hours, is shaped by the rhythms of medieval Christian practice. You will not slumber uninterrupted through the night as modern people expect, but will wake for the midnight office, a brief period of prayer before returning to sleep until dawn. This pattern, far from being considered a hardship, provides structure to the darkness and a reminder of constant vigilance in spiritual matters. When the palace bells toll the midnight hour, you wake without resistance, your body accustomed to this interruption. A single candle has been left ready with flint and steel. You light it and kneel beside your bed rather than in the oratory, keeping this observance brief and focused. The familiar Latin phrases come easily even in your half-waking state, the rhythm of the words carrying you through the short devotion. Prayer complete, you return to bed, sleep reclaiming you quickly. The second half of the night passes in deeper rest, your mind and body completing the restoration begun by your evening rituals. Dreams come and go, some reflecting the day's experiences, others seemingly sent as guidance or warning. You've been taught that God sometimes speaks through dreams, so you will consider their content carefully upon waking. The bells of prime announce the arrival of dawn. You wake fully refreshed despite the midnight interruption, your body conditioned to this schedule through years of practice. The first light of day filters through the window coverings, illuminating a chamber now bustling with quiet activity as servants enter to begin the process of transforming the private man back into the public king. As you rise and prepare to meet the new day's challenges, you carry with you the benefits of your evening's rituals. Body cleansed, mind cleared, spirit renewed through devotion. The crown will soon be placed again upon your head, the chain of office around your neck. But the man who bears these symbols has been restored by the careful balance of physical care and spiritual practice that defines your approach to royal rest. Your evening rituals, though private, will influence the public actions of this day. Mercy tempered with justice, authority exercised with humility, power wielded with awareness of its divine source and ultimate accountability. In this way, the quiet hours of royal restoration shape not just your reign, but the future of France itself. This moment fades softly now. Let's continue on, deeper into the past. The veils of time part once more, revealing the gleaming domes and perfumed corridors of Constantinople. Here, where East meets West, the heirs to Rome's legacy practice relaxation arts as complex and layered as their politics. The air is heavy with incense as you step into the world of purple-born emperors. You are Emperor Constantine VII, Porphyrogenitus, born in the purple, ruler of the Byzantine Empire, keeper of Rome's eastern flame. The great palace complex spreads around you like a city within a city, a maze of buildings accumulated over centuries of imperial rule. The autumn sun has just disappeared behind the massive dome of Hagia Sophia, casting long shadows across the marble-paved courtyards. You have spent the day presiding over the ceremonial reception of Bulgarian ambassadors, every movement, gesture, and word precisely choreographed, according to protocols you yourself documented in the Book of Ceremonies. Now, as the complex machinery of Byzantine diplomacy winds down for the day, you feel the familiar weight of the purple boots and heavy silk robes embroidered with gold thread and studded with pearls and precious stones. The regalia of your office transforms you into a living icon, a representation of divine authority on earth. But the physical burden of these garments reminds you constantly of your all-too-human frame beneath the splendor. As you move through the hall of the 19 couches, courtiers prostrate themselves in proskynesis, foreheads touching the polished marble floor. Even in these final public moments of the day, absolute adherence to protocol must be maintained. You acknowledge their obeisance with the slight nod that tradition permits, no more, no less, while your logothete of the course quietly indicates which officials require your brief attention before your withdrawal. The Byzantine court functions through layer upon layer of officials, each with precisely defined duties and privileges. At the completion of formal audiences, a carefully orchestrated transition begins. The praepositus of the sacred bedchamber takes primary responsibility for your person from the master of ceremonies, signaling the shift from public to private imperial space. This handover of responsibility is itself conducted with ritualized phrases and movements, a microcosm of the elaborate ceremonial that defines Byzantine governance. You pass through a series of increasingly restricted chambers, each threshold, guarded by members of the Hetairaia, your personal foreign guard composed primarily of Russians and Scandinavians, whose loyalty is assured by their status as outsiders to Byzantine political factions. With each doorway, the number of attendants permitted to follow diminishes according to their rank and function, the imperial privacy increasing in carefully measured increments. Finally, you enter the Chrysotriklinos, the Golden Hall, with its 8 vaulted alcoves and great golden dome. Here, the last public business occurs in a space that balances intimacy with imperial splendor. The golden throne centered beneath the dome remains empty. These final audiences are conducted standing, a signal that formal business is concluding. A court astronomer provides an update on celestial observations. A military logistics officer reports on supply movements to the eastern themes. And the chartophylax presents documents requiring your personal seal. These tasks complete, you make a subtle gesture recognized instantly by the parakoimomenos, the chamberlain who sleeps outside your bedchamber. He steps forward, barely inclining his head as he speaks the formal phrase signaling your withdrawal. The basileus retreats to commune with divine wisdom. This fiction, that your private hours are spent in contemplation rather than necessary, human rest, maintains the semi-divine aura that Byzantine political theology has constructed around your position. The final attendants bow deeply as you pass through a concealed door behind an ornate mosaic panel. This entrance, known to few outside the most intimate imperial servants, leads to a series of private passageways connecting various sections of the vast palace complex. Here, away from public eyes, you are accompanied only by the parakoimomenos and 2 trusted Varangian guards who will remain stationed outside your private chambers. The passage opens into the Kainorgion, a smaller palace within the greater complex, reserved exclusively for the imperial family. Immediately, the atmosphere changes. The ever-present scent of incense that permeates public spaces gives way to more subtle fragrances: beeswax candles, cypress wood, and the light floral perfumes favored in private imperial quarters. The sounds change too. The constant background murmur of courtiers and officials replaced by the softer movements of household servants, specifically chosen for their discretion and quiet efficiency. Your first destination is not your bedchamber, but a private study where intellectual pursuits offer the initial transition from public role to private person. As a scholar-emperor known for your writings on governance and your patronage of the encyclopedic Excerpta Historica, these hours of reading and composition represent not merely leisure, but an essential aspect of your imperial identity. The study contains carefully organized shelves of parchment scrolls and codices, histories, theological works, classical texts preserved through careful copying, while Western Europe struggled through darker times. A writing desk positioned to catch optimal light during daytime hours now glows in the warm illumination of oil lamps with silver reflectors specifically designed to reduce eye strain during evening work. You settle into a chair cushioned with silk-covered pillows and gesture to indicate which work you wish to continue. A scholarly secretary, selected for his exceptional handwriting and absolute discretion, brings the appropriate materials. A partially completed manuscript on provincial administration that you have been developing over several months. While Byzantine emperors delegate most practical writing to secretaries, you take personal pleasure in composition, seeing the arrangement of knowledge as an imperial duty equal to military or diplomatic leadership. For nearly an hour, you dictate revisions and additions to your treatise, occasionally consulting reference texts brought by silent attendants. This intellectual activity serves as a decompression chamber between public performance and private existence, allowing your mind to shift focus from immediate crises to longer historical perspectives. The rhythm of composition, the careful selection of precise terminology, and the satisfaction of capturing complex administrative concepts in elegant Greek prose provide a form of mental restoration impossible to achieve amid the constant vigilance required in public appearances. When your scholarly work reaches a natural pause, you signal for the transition to the next phase of your evening ritual. The parakoimomenos reappears, now carrying the modest copper box containing your personal seal rather than the official golden bull used for state documents. This transition of imperial symbols from public to private identity is conducted with an abbreviated version of the ceremony used in reverse each morning. You move now deeper into the private complex, passing through a courtyard garden where carefully maintained plants from across the empire provide both aesthetic pleasure and practical materials for the imperial physicians. The gentle sound of water flowing through marble channels follows your progress, a subtle counterpoint to the soft fall of your now unbooted feet on mosaic pathways. The private imperial thermal complex awaits, smaller and less grandiose than the public baths, but equipped with refined comforts accumulated through centuries of Byzantine appreciation for the bathing arts inherited from Rome. Unlike your Western counterparts, who have largely abandoned regular bathing, you maintain the daily practice as both physical necessity and cultural continuity with the Roman past that Byzantium claims as its exclusive inheritance. The bathing ritual begins in the tepidarium, where attendants help remove your remaining formal garments. The heavy silk robes, stiff with gold embroidery and encrusted with jewels, are carefully folded and placed in cedar chests by servants specifically responsible for imperial wardrobe. Beneath these outer layers, you wear garments of fine Egyptian cotton, another luxury that sets Byzantine life apart from the rougher fabrics common in Western courts. Now disrobed, you proceed to the caldarium, where steam rises from a pool, heated by hypocaust systems based on ancient Roman designs, but refined through Byzantine engineering. The hot, moist air immediately envelops you, opening pores and beginning the process of releasing the physical tension accumulated through hours of maintaining the rigid postures required during imperial ceremonies. You immerse yourself in the hot water, feeling the heat penetrate muscles held too long in ceremonial stillness. Unlike the public baths where conversation and political maneuvering continue unabated, the imperial private baths maintain near complete silence. The only sounds are the occasional splash of water, the distant hiss of steam being generated, and the measured breathing of the few attendants permitted to assist with the imperial bathing ritual. After sufficient time in the hot bath, you move to a marble slab where an attendant applies olive oil infused with herbs selected by the imperial physician for their specific properties. Rosemary to improve circulation, lavender to calm the mind, and frankincense to ease respiratory passages often irritated by the constant ceremonial incense of public spaces. The attendant's hands work with practiced precision, finding knots of tension with unerring accuracy and applying appropriate pressure to release them. The massage complete, you proceed to the next stage of the bathing ritual, scraping away the oil with a silver strigil, removing accumulated impurities with it. This practice, maintained from Roman times, is followed by a brief immersion in a cool pool that closes the pores opened by heat and firms the skin. The contrast between hot and cold creates a pleasant tingling sensation throughout your body, a physical reminder of the transition being made from public to private self. The final element of the bathing ritual involves application of scented oils and powders appropriate to your private persona rather than your public role. Where imperial ceremonies require the heavy, sweet scent of roses associated with imperial purple, your private preference runs to lighter, more subtle fragrances, cedar, citrus, and subtle herbs that please without overwhelming the senses. Clean, refreshed, and now dressed in a loose robe of silk, far lighter than ceremonial garments, you proceed to your private dining chamber. Unlike the massive state banquets, where every item of food, seating position, and serving order carries political significance, this evening meal focuses on physical restoration and simple pleasure. The chamber itself reflects this shift from public display to private comfort. Where the state dining halls feature gold plate, enormous candelabras, and mosaic floors depicting imperial triumphs, this room offers more subtle refinements. Walls frescoed with peaceful garden scenes, comfortable couches arranged for relaxed dining in the Roman manner, and tableware of delicate glass rather than precious metal. A physician-certified food taster has already sampled each dish, a necessary precaution even in private, given the Byzantine court's notorious history of poison as a political tool. You recline on a couch as servants present a meal, balancing the sophisticated culinary heritage of the empire with the specific recommendations of your personal physician regarding foods appropriate to your constitution and the autumn season. The meal begins with a light soup of chicken, lemon, and egg, a dish designed to prepare the digestion without overtaxing it. This is followed by fresh fish from the Bosphorus, simply prepared with olive oil and herbs, rather than the complex spice sauces featured at public banquets. Vegetables from the palace gardens, bread of the finest white flour, and fruits preserved in honey complete the meal, each element selected for both pleasure and health. You eat moderately, mindful of both physical comfort and the Christian virtue of temperance. Unlike some of your imperial predecessors notorious for their excesses, you maintain control even in private indulgences, a habit formed through your scholarly temperament and reinforced by theological education. The wine served with your meal has been watered according to both ancient Greek custom and Christian moderation, providing flavor and mild relaxation without risk of clouding the intellect. As you dine, a musician plays softly on a Byzantine lyra in an adjoining chamber, close, enough to be heard but distant enough to remain unobtrusive. The music consists of ancient modes believed to promote digestive harmony and mental tranquility, their mathematical proportions reflecting the divine order that Byzantine cosmology perceives throughout creation. With the meal complete, you move to the final chamber in your evening progression, a private space that serves as transition between waking activities and sleep. Here, icons of Christ Pantocrator, the Virgin Hodegetria, and your personal patron saint occupy a corner illuminated by a silver oil lamp that will burn throughout the night. Before these sacred images, you perform abbreviated versions of the evening prayers that would be conducted with full ceremonial elaboration in the palace chapel during public observances. Your prayers complete, you settle into a cushioned chair while a eunuch with a particularly melodious voice reads, selected passages from the Church Fathers. Tonight, excerpts from John Chrysostom's commentaries on the Pauline epistles. The rhythmic Greek phrases create a meditative atmosphere, allowing theological contemplation to gradually replace the day's political and administrative concerns. When the reading concludes, you make the sign of the cross and move toward the imperial bed, a masterpiece of Byzantine craftsmanship featuring carved cedar posts supporting a canopy of silk, embroidered with subtle Christian symbols rather than the overtly imperial motifs that decorate public spaces. The bedding consists of fine linen sheets and covers stuffed with the softest down, providing comfort without the ostentatious display that Byzantine protocol reserves for public ceremonial objects. As you prepare to retire, a final ritual remains, one unique to the Byzantine imperial tradition. The parakoimomenos enters carrying a small casket of purple porphyry stone. Opening it with a silver key worn around his neck, he reveals a handful of earth collected from construction sites around the empire. This he presents to you with formal words unchanged for centuries. Remember, Basileus, though you rule the world, you are dust, and to dust shall return. This memento mori, this reminder of mortality, serves as the final transition between the semi-divine public persona of the emperor and the mortal man who requires sleep. You receive the box with appropriate gravity, contemplating its contents briefly before returning it to the chamberlain with a slight nod. He withdraws, taking up his position outside your chamber door, where he will quite literally fulfill his title of parakoimomenos, the one who sleeps nearby. Left in near darkness, illuminated only by the flickering oil lamp before the icons, you perform a final private devotion, touching your forehead to the cool marble floor in a prostration, witnessed by no human eyes. This act of humility, contrasting with the proskynesis you receive from others throughout the day, completes the cycle of imperial identity, from receiving veneration to offering it, from embodying authority to acknowledging its ultimate source. As you finally settle beneath silk covers, your mind begins the gradual release of conscious control that precedes sleep. Unlike the abrupt transitions of modern life, your progress toward rest has followed a carefully structured sequence of physical and spiritual stages, from scholarly work to bathing, from dining to prayer, from contemplation to final surrender, of wakefulness. In these last moments of consciousness, your thoughts drift not to tomorrow's political challenges, but to the manuscript you were revising earlier. Perhaps a passage from your work on the administration of the empire intended to guide your son and heir in navigating the complex relationships between Byzantium and neighboring peoples. The precise arrangement of words, the careful balancing of historical example with practical advice creates a soothing pattern in your mind as awareness gradually fades. Your sleep, when it comes, carries its own Byzantine complexity, a mixture of imperial dreams where you converse with Constantine the Great or receive divine guidance through allegorical visions, interspersed with more ordinary human concerns and memories transformed by the sleeping mind. Throughout the night, the Parakoimomenos remains vigilant outside your door, while Varangian guards stand silent watch at key positions, their axes ready to defend the sleeping emperor against threats both physical and supernatural. The night passes in measured hours, marked by the softly chanted prayers of monks in the palace chapel, their unceasing liturgy maintaining the empire's spiritual defenses while its temporal ruler rests. In Byzantine understanding, these prayers are as essential to imperial security as the physical walls protecting Constantinople from external enemies, a continuous shield of faith surrounding the sleeping city and its emperor. Well before dawn, gentle hands wake you according to imperial schedule. The transition from sleep to full imperial presence will follow the same carefully structured progression as evening's reversal, with each stage marking an incremental return to public identity. The private man who found restoration in evening rituals now begins his transformation back into the living embodiment of an empire. Basilius ton Romaion, Emperor of the Romans, God's vice-regent on earth. As you rise from bed and prepare to receive the first attendance of morning, you carry with you the benefits of properly ordered rest, body refreshed, mind cleared, spirit centered through the harmonious balance of intellectual, physical, and spiritual rituals that define Byzantine understanding of human well-being. The weight of imperial regalia will soon return to your shoulders, but you have been fortified to bear it through the ancient wisdom preserved in these private chambers, while the rest of the medieval world slept in simpler darkness. The morning. Light catches the golden dome of Hagia Sophia, visible through your chamber window, a reminder that another day of imperial duty awaits, made possible by the careful restoration of the man beneath the purple. In this delicate balance between public performance and private renewal lies the secret of Byzantine endurance, a civilization that preserved Rome's legacy through rituals of power visible to all, and rituals of restoration known only to the few permitted within the emperor's most private sphere. Thank you for spending this quiet time with us, drifting through forgotten echoes of history. If this story brought you peace, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs rest. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Until next time, sleep well, dream softly, and good night.